and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first thing on the docket tonight's agenda, we do have a slight change in the order. We're going to have the audit report moved to right after the consent agenda so that she can get out of here. So I'm looking for a motion on that.
Make a motion to approve the agenda
As amended.
as amended.
All right.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the amended agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, moving on to comments and suggestions from community. Do you have anybody tonight that would like to speak?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to remind you have 3 minutes, and there is no dialogue back and forth.
Okay.
If you could stand, state your name, and go from there.
My name's Mark Gooding. My wife and I live in Eldridge. We have 2 children, students at North Scott. One is a 4th grader at Allen Shepherd, and the other is a freshman at the high school. Just want to come and express some concern after finding the spreadsheet posted on the North Scott Press website on the online edition from last week. Our taxpayers, district taxpayers, are aware that they are spending $4.8 million in interest before any principal pay down in the 2030 fiscal year for the Innovation Center and a few of the other projects. Looks like $26 million will be the overall cost for the Regional Innovation Center, with $4.8 million in interest minus the $5 million in grants gets us at $21 million to district taxpayers. Are we going to have the opportunity to view new renditions and drawings of the Innovation Center after the changes made? And will there be any open forums for public discussion? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Okay, we're going to move on to the, thank you for your comments. Moving on to consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passed on the consent agenda. Now we're moving on to the, skip it down to, sorry, the district, down to item B under new business, the approval of the 21-22 district audit. Jill, do you want to
Sure.
start on that?
We recently completed our financial statement audit for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. And this evening, Mia Fromelt from Bounsack and Fromelt is here just to give a brief summary of the results. And just so people are aware, the Finance Committee met before the board meeting and went over it in a little greater detail.
So great to be here.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a pleasure to be here tonight, and we did meet prior and went through the details of the financial results, and I'm pleased to report tonight that there are 3 audits that we performed: the financial statement audit, an audit over government auditing standards, which is your state compliance and compliance with laws and regulations, and also the federal single audit. And this year the federal programs tested were the child nutrition programs and the education stabilization fund programs. And all 3 of those have an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, and all 3 of those had no findings to report. So it's a clean report card.
Thank you.
Thank you. So in layman's terms, I was getting to do a little bit of business on this, on the unmodified opinion. We got an A+ then?
A+.
So we've met all of our standards.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this evening I'd be asking for board approval of the June 30th, 2022 audit report.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right, it's got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on?
I would like to comment. What really sums it up best in the 142-page report, it says corrective action plan, and it says none. and this has been several years in a row, and Jill, I think you're doing a fantastic job. When we looked at the report, we have in our, on the last page, we have the unassigned general fund, which looked like this, and this is year after year after year, and it says we have 67 days of reserve, which is well within where we're supposed to be, and I applaud you for doing it all. And Jill, we had a discussion during the time, there's, in the community, there has been how are bills paid. Would you review that so I know we're put to rest and we've been put to rest all, but I'd like the community to put to rest with it all too. So would you explain that?
So, yeah. I say part of my job, I feel like, is putting in internal controls within the business office, right? So there are a lot of school districts that don't have a large enough staff to be able to do that, to segregate controls. We're fortunate that we do. So for any bill that we pay, we have at least one person that reviews and approves that bill, and I see every bill that comes through our office. Amazon, for example, we set up a new electronic approval process with them directly, with a 2-tiered electronic process. So an employee can go in and request that they want to make a purchase. An email goes directly to their supervisor. They check their budget, they approve it, and then it comes to me. And then I would approve, you know, the individuals that are allowed to have an account or not have an account, and review that all of the time. You know, the other thing that we do too with First Central State Bank is every item that comes in and out of the account also has a review process. We upload every single check before it clears the bank. Anything that tries to go through that doesn't have pre-authorization, I get an email and it needs to be approved before it comes out of our account. If for some reason they couldn't get a hold of me, they would not make that payment. You know, even if it's a payroll, they check absolutely everything, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we try really hard to put together good internal
And where's
controls.
the delivery always, we heard?
The delivery.
The delivery of the goods. Always to
Oh,
north.
yeah, always to a school building, yeah.
Always to a school building.
Yeah.
Right,
Correct.
right. So I applaud you. You're our guidance on the whole financial scheme. I mean, Joe made the comment, being a former auditor, no worries. You guide the board as in, can we afford, well, we're going to talk about Shepherd tonight. Can we afford Shepherd? Can we go that direction? Can we go the direction of the Regional Innovation Center? And can we afford that? And that's the guidance that we get from you. And we are so thankful for you, and we applaud you, and I thank you for everything that you do for us. I appreciate it.
That's good, John. And to piggyback off that, everything has buckets. School finance is one of the most difficult, I'm a business person, but it's a difficult entity, and everything has buckets for that within the school system. So I applaud you brought up, sir, tonight. And I wanted to let you know, we will get back to you with your questions. You know, Joe will get back to answering your questions, because there's answers for all those questions. But back to this, thank you for all of what you do, Joe, and your staff, and keeping monitors in place and tracking in place. So we have a very good, solid school budget. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I'll just make the same comment that I made too, and that this book is, this book and the reports that we got are online for the, under the agenda item. So this is the 142 pager. But there's a lot of really great, I mean, I think I called it the State of the Union address on our district, if you want to read. There's a lot of great things of historical, year over year, what we spend, our staffing levels, our revenues or whatever. Enrollment numbers, there's just a lot of great information, and you guys spent a lot of time putting it together. So if you want to know anything about our district and what's happened over the last 10 years, there's a lot of info in there that is not your usual, I would say, financial report that you may be used to reading from a company. So that's, I would encourage the public also to go out and take a look to know what's going on.
And Joe, you know, I think all of us will echo this. You know, we all appreciate the financial situation that you set the district up for success there too. So, thank you. Great. We have a motion and a second. So, in discussion, okay, all those in favor of approving the audit please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passes, so. Thank you very much for your audit
Thank
services.
you.
And
Thank you.
have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Yep.
It's just a lot, but we have to be proud of it, North Scott. I think it's definitely Joe, but all of us work hard to ensure that we're solvent and that we're doing things we're to do with our finances, so. Thank you.
All right, now we're gonna move on to the school calendar portion. So we do have a public hearing for that, so we're gonna go ahead and open that up now. Joe, do you wanna?
Yeah, I'll just give a little background. Basically, the calendar is the same calendar that we've had for the last few years. Last couple of years adding our early outs on Fridays due to giving our teachers time to catch up at the end of the week from the amount of times they have to sub for each other, the amount of meetings that we have and things like that. I would say the one change, and I let you guys know earlier, is we added one more early out to really help our elementary teachers in those fall conferences. You know, elementary and secondary are two total different situations when it comes to conferences. Our elementary teachers have a lot of prep to do because they're going to see 95 to 100%. As much as we'd love that kind of participation rate at the secondary level, that's just not the reality. You know, we work hard and our principals work hard trying to change things up, have phone calls, get people to do things differently. But our elementary teachers work really hard, so there was one added to that to balance out so they could be prepared, and also at the end of the week of those conferences. So, but other than that, it's a traditional schedule that we've had for many years here.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
All right, public hearing is open. Is there any input from the public?
Probably need a second.
Second,
Oh, second?
yeah.
That's not what my rules say here, but yeah. So, okay.
Second.
Second, all right, public hearing is open. Any comments from the public? Okay, hearing none.
Making a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
Okay, public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion from the board on the calendar?
I did hear one comment back from one of the staff members that they like the Wednesday going back after the first of the year. It's nice to go back midweek, so looks like we're doing the same thing next.
It is. It's the holidays fall differently. We have leap year next year, so everything changes. If they don't change, which they may, supposedly Chapter 12 has been looked at. The start date is in Chapter 12. There's another law that impacts start date, but it'd be great not to have the 23rd, no earlier than 23rd listed, because after leap year, that means we can't start till the 26th, because the 23rd is on a Friday, then a Saturday. And so it sure would be helpful if they would word it some way, and the reality of it is, it's always the Monday following the state fair. And I know they don't want to put that into a law, but I'd love to be able to start the Monday after the state fair, because those years it would be in the teens. And so hopefully we might get some flexibility next year. But 2 years, the calendar gets to be a little different due to the leap year and the 23rd falling on Friday. So it is what it is.
Maybe they can look at the attendance, because I don't think the attendance has changed since they made that law, so I don't think their intentions of the law actually materialized.
State fair attendance has gone way up.
Must be just the last year then, because I looked at them.
And this aligns with all the local schools. as far as
Correct,
the
so
big breaks go.
Scott County and actually Clinton County align with spring break. Now, they all have their little bit differences. Some take Wednesday early outs, some don't take
Right.
any, like we have full in-service days on Mondays, some don't do that, they do it at the beginning and the end. So there's some little differences, but for the most part, the majority of it's the same.
Okay.
The one that everybody asks, spring break, the same, spring break's the same. And I think Eastern Iowa Community Colleges is the same spring break too. Don't know about Iowa, we don't align ours with the University of Iowa, so no idea about theirs. It does once in a while, but every once in a while it does not. And
Okay, any other discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the school calendar.
I make that motion.
second,
It's got a motion and a second, so we already had discussion. So all those in favor of approving the school calendar for the 2023-24, I guess that's what I did. 2023-24 school year, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. You have your calendar, Joe. Okay. Now we're gonna move on to school board recognitions. Thank you, Joni.
Okay, yes, and tonight we recognize we want to recognize the food service and the leaders in the delicious, nutritious meals preparing. And Amy's here tonight, so you can speak to a little bit. But I would like to say this is an award that we like to give. The school board is recognizing folks to make a difference in our district and certainly lead our core values and our mission and what we have that we feel very important in our district. Now, a lot of you can't be here tonight, so Molly brought up, and I think it's a good idea, to go around and really thank everybody, and we can
We'll come
schedule
some morning.
schedule some time.
Get me into living room.
To me, I think it's most fun to come and work with the program, the school leaders, because really what you're really offering is safety for our kiddos with their food, such a wonderful variety of meals, delicious and nutritious, and that we take that for granted because we have to eat, right? But it is a very important part of our district, is our health and our well-being of our kiddos. And we thank you for what you do. And if you ever work with you guys, which I have, and I know some of the rest of us have at times, you guys are some of the hardest workers in the district, behind the scenes, what you do. You know, and those kids, it means a lot to those kids. You have those good meals. So thank you very, very much. Amy, would you like to say
Thanks,
something?
Joni. No, we appreciate that very much, and we just have a few people representing our big squad tonight, but I know a lot of them wanted to come, but just, we were very short today, very short-handed. We were down about 5 people, and a lot of these gals step up and come in
Wow.
early or stay late, and do
Thank
that
you.
quite often. So I just want to kind of put that out there, and you know, Lisa Bruning is our kitchen operation management, and she wanted to be here tonight too, but she has other family obligations to get to, so it was disappointing. But you know, these gals have been in our kitchens before. I have pictures of them washing dishes and serving and doing all the things that we never would have expected you to do, but it really goes a long way. They really appreciate that very much. So
I know.
yeah.
Could you introduce the folks that are here?
Yeah, this is Emily Roseman. They all work at the high school, but they all have different jobs. I don't know if the district knows that,
Right.
but because we're so widespread, some people have to serve breakfast, go to another building, and then go serve lunch. So we're we're kind of all over the place. They have a lot of different, there's a lot of logistics to it. So Emily is at the high school, and Beth is also at the high school, quite a few years now.
About 14.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, and then Monica's at the high school too, but mostly she serves breakfast and lunch at Armstrong. So she's
Nice.
out at Armstrong a lot, yeah.
And so will you need more staff when you have Shepherd open up?
That's a
Yeah.
good question. So Joe and I were talking about this. It's pretty much the same amount of meals. It's just gonna be we're gonna be distributing staff a little bit different. There's a couple gals at the junior high now who are excited to go out to Shepherd and kind of lead that crew out there. And then we're gonna kind of just see, our van driver will be out there. That van driver will start at Shepherd, deliver to Glen, and then come back to here. And then, yeah, so their days are a little bit different. Like they have more time in earlier part of the day instead of the later part of the day. So we'll see. There's one full-time position we need to create for sure to replace the gal at the high school or the junior high. But for the most part, we're just gonna kind of beg and borrow and see where we end up. And
Yeah,
I
kind of
think
a
maybe
we'll
add
see.
a couple,
Kinda,
yeah, a couple part-time.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, do you wanna talk about where we serve now out of and where we're going to with Shepherd?
Oh, okay, so Shepherd, the food that goes to Shepherd comes from the junior high production kitchen. We have 2 production kitchens now, high school and junior high. So junior high services, Shepherd and Glen. So junior high is actually gonna take over at White when that transition happens. It's about the same amount of meals. And then Shepherd will be a little bit, not smaller kitchen, but not as big as a junior high school. They're just gonna do the food for Shepherd and Glen because their menu is mostly just one elementary menu. So breakfast and lunch, so yeah. And then the high school will continue doing Armstrong and Grissom. So their numbers will go down a little bit. Right now it's a lot of dishes and a lot of cleanup at the end of the day because by the time those van drivers get back, it's not till 1:30, so they can't leave until 2:45 by the time I finish.
That's
so.
a lot of dishes.
Yeah, it's a lot of red trays.
You already get a gold star in my eyes.
Yeah.
This is,
Hey, Joni, the other thing I would just remember during COVID, they were typically
Yes.
a 9-month employee.
Yeah.
For 2 years in a row, they worked 12 months. We served summer meals. They developed the system to have people pick up and deliver and all those things. They stepped up, for department that for our district, we don't do summer because we don't have enough free and reduced to really get us there. And we can't thank them enough for those 2 summers providing meals to kids throughout the North Scott School District. And so,
Thank you.
and Amy, phenomenal job maximizing our benefits that we get from the federal programs. We not only usually get our share, we usually get the leftovers that other districts don't put the time and effort to maximize theirs. And so, leading it, she does a phenomenal job. So thank you to all of you for, especially during COVID when you were working 12 months for 2 straight years. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And I want to give kudos to Jill too, because she helps me a lot when it comes to my budget. I can just go over next door and knock on the door, and she's always really, some districts don't have that. Some districts, if you're a service director, it's really hard to communicate with business director. We're really fortunate that
We are fortunate.
she's my
Thank
buddy,
you, we
so.
are. Well, you
Yeah.
are here tonight, and here's your certificates for your ongoing contribution to and continued work toward the mission of the North Scott Community School District, and all you do behind the scenes even. So Beth,
Thank you.
thank you. Monica, and Emily, thank you for being here. And Katie, who's on our recognition team as well, she's got some T-shirts for you. But the rest of us are going to go around. I'm going to keep these certificates for the other ones because whoever wants to join me to go to the actual school and hand these out with a T-shirt, we'll do that in the next week or 2, okay? So
Sounds good.
tell them they're not going to get a T-shirt because they didn't come tonight.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to say anything? It's up to you.
We have 3, and thank you for coming, but Amy, how large is your staff?
Yeah.
I think it's about 28 or 30. Yeah, so.
So you have 30 that lead like 3,000 students
Mhm.
every
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
2
Van
meals every
drivers,
day.
servers, cooks, yeah.
No, the meals are phenomenal. They're just wonderful what you guys put together and keep to the budget like you do. Thank you very much.
Well, and even when Joni and I were at the junior high on a day, I'm sure you guys at the high school do this a lot. You start to run out of something and you just got to think quick, what else can we stick out there? And I was stressed. I was so stressed. And I didn't feel like I was shooting water everywhere, but it was fun. It was
That's
fun.
because Tracy and I like to talk, so it's like,
So
line
thank
moving.
you.
Lisa,
Thank
tell
you
you
for-
we're talking.
Yeah, stop talking. But thank you for thinking on your feet and taking care of all our kids. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much.
That's 100 students.
Yes.
I got
thank
to
you
work
very
with
much.
Monica one of the days, and so I'm glad to see you're still here.
That
Yeah.
was fun. You should come by.
Yeah, I will.
You will.
I was like, what do you do with these grapes? Oh, I leave them for the for breakfast. I mean, like, no waste, right? There's always something to do with them. So take good care of the kids.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. Amy, give them a T-shirt before they leave. We'll take it out to your peers.
Stay.
Yeah, you don't have to
Thank
take it.
you.
Wear it and brag.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're rewarding you. Thank you very much for coming. All good.
All right. That was neat. All right, so moving on to bills now. Jill?
Thank you. This evening I have $1,330,106 worth of bills presented for approval for payment. I decided to highlight a payment to Smart Automotive of Davenport for $37,323, and that's to add a van to our district fleet. A payment to Computer Information Concepts for $60,075. That is for the calendar year 2023 Infinite Campus software renewal and support. And a payment to Mississippi Bend AEA for $116,390, and that is for first semester hearing interpreter services for 3 of our students. Thank you.
Okay, a motion for the bills?
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the bills, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Pay the bills, Jill. All right, moving on to committee reports. Joe, you want to
Yeah, just the
Highlight
two
those.
written reports are in there. I would highlight the health one because there's just fewer, it happened for this last board meeting. The good news on health insurance is we have a 0% increase for next year, which really helps us, especially at a time when SSA we're a minus 0.5%. So it does help with that. We also are bidding out our reassurance that were required by law. It was our current company, their initial renewal rate was unjustified. We have not used a dime of renewal insurance this year. I mean, we have nobody who's been over 120,000. And they want a 19% increase. And we didn't use any of that. I mean, last year was a pure profit more than likely for them. And so, and I know market drives it and studies. And so, were there not 10 carriers? There were quite a few different carriers. See, we can go out and bid it out. So next meeting, we should hear what the bids were for other people to do our business. And more than likely, that company's number will drop way down too, because now they want to keep our business too. So,
Right.
but even with that, we're at 0% increase. And so we got a good year, and so it's nice to have.
Joe? Great, Aaron, you get to present tonight
Yeah.
for John Glenn.
Yep, you're
All
up.
right.
It's the A-team. Thanks for being here tonight.
All right, well, we are excited to share with you the journey that we have been on at John Glenn for the past year. And so before we start, I would like to give everyone up here the chance to introduce themselves. So I'll start. I think everybody here knows me, but I'm Erin Payson, and I'm the principal here at John Glenn. This is my third year here.
I'm Clint Fredericks. I teach second grade at John Glenn.
I'm Vinnie Smith. I teach third grade at John Glenn.
I'm Sandy Schaefer, and I'm a reading interventionist at John Glenn.
Tracy Helton, I'm the school counselor, 22 years. You forgot to say how many years.
36 years.
Yeah.
39, 10.
Shannon Robinson, instructional coach, and this is my first year out there.
Could I ask the five of you to all shift over there? On
Yeah.
that side of the
Just
room?
keep this side.
Really?
Good to see your smiling
I'm gonna hide
face.
behind you.
It's all right.
Can I go over here at least? Or you want me to stay here?
No, it doesn't. I just didn't want 5 heads.
Okay.
Four would have been okay, but not five.
All right. So really our purpose today is to share our improvement journey over the past year and then really highlight one example of a change that's been implemented that has impacted student achievement. So some of the slides that you'll see today came right from our building professional development presentation that we engaged in as a team on January 13th. And this is one of the quotes that we started with. Change is hard, it's muddy, it's emotionally tolling, and it's really important for us to take a chance to pull over and really look at how far we've come. And that's a part of what we have been doing as a staff this recently. So we started our process by really establishing current reality. And we took a look at a lot of pieces of information and engaged in a whole lot of reflection. A lot of this happened really starting in September of last school year and did continue till the end of the year, but really up until March. We were really just in that phase of trying to figure out what is our current reality here at John Glenn. And we did that in a variety of ways that I'll speak to a little bit, but we started the year by looking at some student achievement, and we did a really deep data dive. We looked at internal measures and external measures of our student performance. We looked at how the performance of our students compared to students in other buildings in the district. We looked at trends over time, and that right there sparked a lot of reflection for us. We also took a close look in at our collective commitments that had been developed prior to my start here, but things such as, we are flexible. We approach things as a team. We took a look at those collective commitments and revisited them, and had to ask ourselves questions about if our practices were aligning with all of those collective commitments. Because as time goes by and things get fast and things shift, we really needed to kind of revisit that and ask ourselves those questions. One of the biggest things that was a part of this establishing current reality phase was reflecting on some significant changes that the building had gone through over even really just the past 5 years. The first of which was the reduction of sections. So as you know, each year, John Glenn has lost one section, taking each grade level down from having 2 people and a collaborative team down to 1. And so that in and of itself was a significant impact on staff, on culture, and even on student achievement, because we all know that reducing sections doesn't mean a reduction of work. And so we recognized in this reflection that either that meant that the work was changing, or there was still the same amount of work, just fewer people on deck to make that work happen. Also COVID, we really talked about how COVID impacted not only our staff, because of the things that were lost during that time, the connections, community connections, student learning gaps, and so we really reflected on that. And also a change in leadership. So we all know that there are shifts, and that is a significant impact when you have change in leadership. So we talked about all of those things. We engaged in a lot of different conversations in a variety of settings to really, again, gather lots of different perspectives. So what is our current reality? We had these conversations one-on-one. We had small group conversations, whole staff conversations. We had conversations with close colleagues. We even stepped outside of our comfort zone and had conversations with people that we maybe wouldn't normally talk with, but really made it intentional that we're gonna be talking about those things. Where are we right now? And what do we wanna do to help us shift forward? And then really, we kind of ended this phase with asking ourselves, what needs to shift in order for us to accomplish our mission? So does anyone want to speak to anything on this before I move forward about our establishing current reality phase?
Well, when you have those conversations about what is the current reality, where are we now, where are we coming from, where do we want to go moving forward, that involves reflection, self-reflection. And that can be personal, it can be, it can be emotional. They were hard conversations where we had to look at, we're all committed, we all want the same things for kids, we want them to be successful. But where do we put things in terms of priorities? And I was very pleased, we can all say, I'm speaking for everybody, but we're all definitely on the same page, that pleased with the outcome. And thanks to Erin's leadership, we're definitely moving in the right direction. We've made some very positive changes.
Erin kept telling us, let's work smarter, not harder. And that is what she has been leading us to do.
Anything else you guys want to talk about for yourself? Okay. I'm already ready. So starting in April is when things really became clear. And we recognized after all of this, this process, we wanted to invest and focus in on 3 separate things, that all 3 of which were necessary for us to increase student achievement. We recognized we needed to refine our systems and structures to maximize our resources as they currently are. We realized that we need to constantly be very mindful about fostering a positive, collaborative community in our building. As different collaborative structures shifted when we lost sections, that unintentionally caused some of us to become siloed in our classrooms. So that's an example of something we recognized we wanted to move away from. And then also we recognized that we need to improve universal instruction. So we wanted to see that student achievement increase, and we wanted to work smarter, not harder. And so we wanted to focus on the first go round of instruction. We want to see that be really powerful, so that fewer of our students needed to be in interventions. So then April 18th, as a staff, is when we started action planning. These are some slides from that day. That was our last professional development day of the district time, and we spent our whole building time working in teams. Everyone had the option to participate in implementing or planning for change in a lot of different areas. We made sure before we made these plans that we were aligning everything we did with our mission, our commitments, and always keeping those things in mind so that we could achieve our vision. So then that kind of leads us to this year. And this year I feel as though we are really reaping the benefits of all of our hard work that came out of last year and our action planning that started in April. So up here are just some examples of things that we have done this year that have really been closely tied with those 3 areas of systems, collaborative culture, and instruction. And today we're gonna really highlight just one of the things that we've done, which is changing the way that we have our layered intervention meetings. So first I will go ahead and let Shanna and then Clint explain what an intervention meeting is, how we used to do it, and how we're doing it now.
So I know for those of you who've been on the board for a while and you've heard me talk to you about intervention and classroom instruction, we have kids that are experiencing multiple instructional settings in their day. And it's really important that we take the time to get all the people around the table that support that student so that everybody's on the same page. We need to have one cohesive plan so that kids can take what they're learning in one place and take it to another place. Otherwise, you know, we could be working against each other, and we don't want that. We don't want that for kids. That doesn't lead to student achievement. So the purpose of these layered intervention meetings then is really to get everybody around the table. We've structured them this year in such a way that and tomorrow afternoon we'll have a round, and then Wednesday morning we'll have a round. Vinny will come to during her team time, and all the people that support kids in her class, interventionist, special ed teacher, myself, Tracy, the counselor, Aaron will be there, and we'll all be there to kind of do a rapid fire talk through kids and really think about what's currently happening with them, what adjustments do we need to make. And it's just a time for us to really all get on the same page so that we have a cohesive plan moving forward for our kids. So Clint is going to kind of describe how that's different from what was happening before.
I'll kind of walk you through this document. We wanted to share how far we have come so far. So you'll see here we have a before and a now. So before, staff included, it was between the interventionist and the teacher. We'd meet, we'd talk, that would be it. Today, all adults who work with students, from MTSS members to administrators, instructional coaches, counselors, interventionists, everyone, we can sit around the table, we talk, and move forward. Time, it used to be that I would have to set up 5 to 8 meetings with all different interventionists, different individuals, meet with those during a 6-week period. It was just so hectic. Now, we're down to 1 meeting every 6 weeks during our collaborative time, and we set our goals and move forward, and off we go. Facilitation and structure, it used to be just a conversational piece. Now the protocol is efficiency. We set our roles, we distribute it to maximize teacher and interventionist engagement. So everything's documented, moving forward, talking about each student. And last is documentation. We used to have a separate document for each interventionist, special ed. Now it's one document with every student for every grade level. So if you ever looked on Google Drive, it's hard to find all these documents. Now we have one that we can go to and find all this information. So I think aligning these systems has really helped us be more streamlined, save time, collect that data, and always keeping the student in the forefront.
All right, so I love this quote because it really captures what we believe about children and what we know, but there are many factors that can adversely impact student success and lead to student dropout rates and inhibited, I can't even pronounce it, social mobility, including low academic performance, learning gaps, social emotional distress, lack of encouragement, and we exist so that all students overcome these and other barriers to learning and growth. And we employ academic interventions to help fill those critical gaps in knowledge, help children foster a growth mindset, and they can take on their educational and life challenges with confidence. So I want to share a little bit about my experience this year with the success of these layered interventions. So as Clint mentioned, In the past, I would meet with maybe 5, 6 different people, separate meetings. So now that we have this new system, we have some benefits that we can talk about. One of the things that intervention meetings do is we talk about core foundational knowledge that kids need. And so we're talking about this group that we have in intervention, but the beauty of it is we start learning what can we do to boost all students' core knowledge, because we know it's not just these kids who are in intervention who have gaps. There's kids in our room that have these gaps. And so it's kind of been a light bulb effect to us that we go, wow, it's not just these kids. That foundational knowledge is critical for learning. So we're really working on what we take in this meeting and applying it to all our students. It's been empowering. If any word I can find, it's empowering. I sit at a table with all these experts, and it makes me better. I walk away, I feel like I have now all these tools. I have incredible wealth of knowledge from different people and perspectives. And so, of course, I feel it's making me a more excited teacher, a better teacher in what I have to do all day long, not just in interventions. So it's a real empowering experience. It's increased our efficiency, so that then gives me time to apply effective strategies that I need to for universal instruction, what all kids need. So I have more time for that carryover. I can really hone in on what is important, what do kids need to learn, how am I going to do it. And then finally, one of the things that when you have all those people at the table, it really helps that you can spot concerns, you can spot growth. People have different perspectives and they say, aha, that was happening in my intervention, that's happening in mine. So it's not that isolation anymore. We see a pattern that can happen that's both growth and also maybe an area of concern. Then one of the really impacts on our school culture is now we say it's our children. They are all our children. Teachers have this habit of saying, my kid, my classroom, my curriculum, but we're really making this shift that we're saying they believe they belong to all of us, and we all are stakeholders, all. Teachers, we feel our time is more valued. You know, we feel like, you know, someone is recognizing that our time is precious, and so we're given more time. And that's really been a plus for us. And that team approach, we spoke about that. We're not working in silos. We feel that it's a collaborative team. And then, of course, your systems, it makes things efficient, and we have clarity about why are we doing this. Questions?
Thank you. So the one thing with the hat that I wear as a school counselor, I'm involved in each grade level's meetings. So, which makes for a long day. We've gotten smarter even with that. So tomorrow afternoon we have one half, and the next day we have the other half. But it allows me the opportunity at all grade levels to listen to common threads that emerge of concerns or behaviors. So for example, from our meeting, there are a couple things that have emerged that within my universal instruction, I want to then adapt and change, and I already have had the opportunity to do that. One being that teachers have said that they see students rushing through their work. And at the same time, what lends to that is they're not then stopping and asking questions, not advocating for themselves as a learner. So I've been able to adjust my instruction where I talk about and advocating for yourself. Not just advocating for yourself as a human being, for yourself and for others, but advocating for yourself as a learner. So the common threads and the things that I find might be leading to gaps in instruction across all grade levels, I've now been able to adjust my instruction to address those needs.
And to piggyback off her with the instruction, I'm an interventionist, and going to those meetings, I have thoughts of where my kids are and what gaps they need to fill. But sometimes I come in with such emotion because I love these kids and I want them to succeed, getting other perspectives can be really eye-opening, and it can help me shift to make lessons better for my students also.
And then as the building instructional coach, you know, a big piece of our role is to provide that professional development back to the staff. And so being able to sit in these meetings and listening again to the themes that emerge from our meetings together, we can kind of have a reflection time, we can have feedback and feed forward. Again, the idea that, you know, we keep hearing these kids are passive, they're passive, they're passive. Teachers are kind of maybe doing too much. And so how do we support that? Well, a big piece that we want to focus on is student engagement. And so that really can kind of help us draw those connections together in our professional development and again, drive that bigger, broader piece, which is to help our kids be successful. Are we transitioning into the students?
The best part. So we asked some of our students the impact that this has had on us this year.
It's helped me in my classroom because I've learned more ways to do things rather than like easier ways to do things. Like we learned like values and how to break it apart. And now it's easier for me to do like multiplication and division because we learned how to like not stack and do that and not like rush and take your time.
So you're learning other effective methods to solve problems. Right. And how has math intervention helped you this year?
It's helped me like to get more like confident in math, and it's improved my math scores really well. And it's got me more focused in class and everywhere, like at home and everywhere, so I'm improving everything, and yeah.
So your confidence in math, building your confidence in math intervention, how does that help you in the classroom?
It helps me like when we're doing like mini lessons, I'm more focused, and when we go off and do my accuracy work, I'm like that, I'm quick, and I really know how to do it in my mind and stuff, so it's really helping me get more focused on it.
Okay.
Maddox, how does reading intervention help you in the classroom?
It's been helping me really good, especially with the race, how it helps me like dig through the text and like it pulls me into the text and takes out all the answers for me.
And can you explain race?
It's restate the question, answer the question, cite the source, and then explain.
Cora, how does intervention help you in the classroom?
Before I was like robot-y, and now I'm more fluent.
She was robot-y before, and now she's fluent. So again, those layered intervention meetings, how we have shifted the structure of those is just one example of all of the things that we're really excited about this year, and we just wanted to take the chance to celebrate this with you. So if you guys have any questions, feel free.
Well, I applaud you all, because what a process. And you actually have been doing this a long time. You're just kind of formalizing it, making it more structured, it sounds like, but streamlined, yeah. So what a great system you're doing. And so I was going to ask you, you have a meeting, you have meetings more than every 6 weeks. I know that. I mean, you're talking all the time to help each other. But if you do have a watch out or concern, so whomever comes into that meeting and you can collaborate with each other, follow up, well, how is, I'll make it up, Billy doing? I mean, we did this, and this is the kind of thing you do, correct?
We document,
Document.
observations, what we noticed, and then what are our behaviors we want, what are we going to focus on, that's all in that meeting.
Okay, and so when you get that kind of a light bulb, when you see it happening, and you share that, that's got to be so exciting, huh?
And we're all on the same page.
I know.
That's what's so nice about it.
I know it.
Intervention, classroom, it's all
you can tell in all your faces, it's so wonderful.
And every 6 weeks, that's the big formal
yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
We have so many pop-ins, and some of us have Google Docs where we put information on just because it's hard. We have more than 2 people working with the student. So There's just different ways depending on the kids how we communicate.
I know, sure.
I would have to say too, adding on, is that in the past, we've always had reading interventions, and now this year we added math. And that has really been a huge help to all teachers, because we're not just talking about math. We're talking about math, but we're working on vocabulary with kids. We're working on big concepts, that carrying over. So that math interventionist position has been a huge benefit to all students, but to us too.
And you can also see the benefits like through their social emotional well-being.
Oh, yeah.
They're seeing more success.
Well, that's great.
And I'd like to draw some parallels just from the math. The math core actually has in it practice standards, and I think it was a huge miss for the English Language Arts Common Core to not have that in there, because they are very generalizable. How do I solve a problem? How am I precise? Do I understand what the problem is in front of me? So I think that might be another element of that math intervention and piece that really is going to have a broader impact on kids outside of math.
Perfect, yeah.
I really liked it that you saw that you had a problem, Aaron. You led the charge and you gathered together and figured out what the problems were and just systematically worked through it and the improvement of it. So congratulations to all of you. Good job.
I would like to add on too, Erin did that in a way that invited all of us to be part of it. So she was an amazing, and is an amazing leader, but it wasn't just her telling us what to do, it was her inviting us to join her.
Oh, good.
I appreciate that.
Wonderful. Nice job.
Thanks for showing us the kids' interviews. Those were
The best
great.
part. Those
They
are the
were
best.
great. Yeah, and
It
they
is the
could-
best part.
They could relay what they use. It was really amazing.
Including his map scores too. which
Yeah.
is-
Yeah.
And not rushing through.
Yeah. And not being robotic.
Don't be robotic.
Not robotic.
I would be sitting here thinking about how hard they've worked over the last 3 years, because you got to put it in perspective. Aaron took over 3 years ago. It was COVID. And I would say the one thing I underestimated, how hard it was to go from a 2-section to a 1-section. And Bertie and I had the luxury to talk to a lot of staff over the last few years. And really, you'd think, well, they both teach 6th grade, right? Well, in the end, you point out well, you realize we split a lot of the things between 2 of us. I have those same things to do now, it's just one of us. That's just one example.
Right.
And so you guys have done a lot of great work in pretty tough conditions. COVID, going to 2 sections from a 1-section building. And so a lot of the good things you're hearing was also done in a really tough time. So good job.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, now moving on to old business with the Alan Shepard bid.
Okay, in the background, we do have a letter of recommendation on the different bids that we received, and tonight we have Russell and Leggett both here, so they'll be able to answer questions. Just first off, we're $500,000 below our last estimate, so that's really good, and that's also including adding terrazzo in the last few months, which is much more expensive, but a life savings by going to terrazzo. So some of those things have been able to happen here too, but there's 16 total packages that were bidded out. There was one low bid that the company on roofing did not see the whole package, and that bid was withdrawn. And so that bid would not be in here, but these are the low bids for the different works. And so I'll read through the bids, who got them, who the low bid who was, and then really just looking for one motion to approve the bids as presented. But under the building and site concrete was, you say that, aggregates? Works for $284,000. Masonry, auto bomb for $537,315. Structural steel and miscellaneous metals, industrial steel erectors, $258,250. General trades, Swanson Construction, $369,000. Roofing and sheet metal, Economy Roofing, $575,350. Entrance and storefronts, East Moline Glass, $100,000. Gypsum board assembly, River Valley Construction, $106,800. Flooring, Allied Construction, $19,742. Terrazzo flooring, Wisconsin Terrazzo, $205,620. Fluid applied flooring, Midwest Flooring Concepts, $12,100. Painting, Color Inc., $47,867. Food service equipment, Kessenich, $524,045. Fire protection, Continental Fire, $53,000. Mechanical plumbing, HVAC, Hometown, $955,000. Electrical comm and fire alarm, Rock River, $687,723. Earthwork and utilities, Needham Excavation, for $281,543. And other than the food service equipment, I think we have worked with everybody on this list, has done multiple projects for us that are on this list. And so recommendation is to approve the bids as presented.
I make that motion.
Second?
All right, any discussion on the,
Well, it's exciting that it's a $500,000 less.
yeah.
So actually back to the original,
Yeah.
back prior to
Right.
referendum
Right.
numbers. And
So what is the total cost now?
Did I write it down?
I don't see it on the.
Anybody have it on your head? I'll have to calculate it. I actually had it, it's just over 5 million. Well, it's 5.5 million, but, I did write it down, but remember, out of food service, the $524,045 comes from food service, so that takes it just over $5 million for the other bids, including Russell's CM portion of that.
So the 524 food service 11A is coming out of food service.
Food service budget, yes. Food service is, that's the only one they can pay for, even though you would say, well, it's a kitchen, why would they not pay for the flooring? And that's not what food service is allowed to pay for. So, but that 524,000 will come out of the food service budget. So for our budget, it's just slightly over 5 million.
Oh, that's really tremendous.
And what did we say at the last meeting that it would be?
The last meeting, we thought ours was gonna be 5.5 plus, so it'd be almost over 6 million with the food service in there. So 5.5.
We stayed at $500,000.
Yes, so I have, but yeah, it was over that. In fact, the very last couple of weeks, Russell said, hey, you got the terrazzo now and you have electrical room we had to add on. And we upped the amp service in order for if we ever wanted to put a wing on there, the last thing we want to do is put new electrical service and then have to put another new electrical service that ever became a fourth section, so we added that. They were actually say, Joe, you're gonna probably be at 6.2. And so that was the last number they gave me, and want to know, do we want to alternate anything to bring it down? Well, it ended up coming in, and it bodes well for, the number of contractors we had. We have not had a bid opening with that full of a room, and that many bids. I think only one of them had like 2. Everything had 3 to 5 plus bids, which is really good.
Excellent.
Yeah, there was the bid withdrawn, why was, or non-responsive, they just didn't respond back,
We
or?
never provided bid bond.
Oh, the bid bond, yeah.
So,
see
state
it.
law, I think they could have a bid bond.
Yep,
So,
I see the end there, then they just didn't respond back to it, okay.
And we did get one bid the following day, and that we turned over to Russell, and they sent back to, we didn't even open it up, because they were a day late. No idea what that bid was even for, but it got sent back to the original.
Airplane's gone. Good
I
job.
appreciate the summary that you guys provided.
I was this close going, should I open it and find out what they're bidding on? I thought, I better call Russell and find out. Do I need to open this? He's like, don't open it.
Don't.
We'll stop by, we'll send it back. So that's what we did. So I learned a lesson without making a mistake in that lesson. Yeah, I was this close.
You get a roll of her when you open it.
Yeah, I was curious.
Yeah, that's right.
It would be tempting.
I do have a question. So assuming that this gets approved, we move on, start date and then anticipated finish date. I'm not gonna hold you to it, I'm just looking for just general awareness. Because at some point in time, I think you guys had said if this is done early enough, you get it done by fall. I don't think that's realistic, but I just wanna know what the construction schedule is.
Yeah, absolutely. So planning to start in the spring, pretty much as soon as weather breaks, get out there and get started as quick as we can. We've had some phone calls with trade contractors. We're just trying to gather lead times on everything. I know some things that we need to keep our eye on: our electrical panel, the freezer, walk-in coolers, and then the mechanical equipment, obviously. I know that we've indicated that you guys need this for the school year of 2024, starting in the fall. So we're going to turn it over as quick as we can. We just got to confirm those lead times.
probably our hold up, through our conversation, correct me if I'm wrong, might be the panels, the electrical panels. We could literally have everything done, and there's other projects around the Quad Cities just like this. Everything's done, waiting to go. No electrical panel to turn the electricity on, and that could be what really holds us up. They could be as high as, what, 30 weeks, more?
What, the feedback Rob got, to give the team a lot of credit, they're over a year right now.
Oh, okay.
So that's
12
what,
months.
yeah,
That's what
so
I
the
got.
building will be done, except for the electrical panel, and will be, vacated at some point. And we'll have to come back, do that, and the way kitchen equipment folks work, they usually want to set it and turn it on. So then we're gonna hold that portion of the work till after we have power to that building, but, kudos to Rob and his team that they really dove in to try to figure out, okay, that's great if we can build this, but if we don't have power, how is that gonna work? But there's enough power in the building to have the air handling unit temper the space, so we can build it, not have to worry about going to that winter. And then we just won't have enough power to actually operate the kitchen and stuff, so there'll be a phase approach at some point next year.
And I'm assuming that's the stuff we're ordering right away, once this is
Yes.
approved tonight, we're getting those orders in. So-
Absolutely, yeah. The team's all geared up to send out notice of receipts tomorrow, and contracts will
Good.
flow out this week, so.
So if you find the guy that's hoarding all the electrical panels,
Maybe it's someone else somewhere.
So I had another
I'm
project that was
assuming the
this close to
electrical.
not needing their 3,000 amp, and I was like, I might know somebody that would buy that. Just might.
I know a guy.
Just might.
So did you say
Unfortunately.
the building is anticipated fall to 2024, but we may not do the kitchen service that Amy described right away?
No, what he's saying
Panels.
is that, don't, again, I'm gonna, because we've had conversations, this fall, late this fall, this building could be totally done, sitting there waiting for the electric, then we will do it. So there would be no reason not to think this would not be fully operational in the fall. If it wasn't for these electrical panels, we're probably into this facility sometime next school year. There's no reason, from a construction
Yes.
standpoint, there's no reason we wouldn't be, other than delay on getting stuff. And so.
Are we gonna occupy though, are we gonna occupy prior to having everything set for the kitchen?
Probably
If we have
not,
enough.
because it would depend on fire alarm, a lot of other things. What I heard you say is we can heat it.
Right.
But
Okay,
anything
nothing
else we
else.
would not be able
Okay,
to do.
all right.
So we've always said the fall of '24.
Mm-hmm.
They would love to be done October of '23 and have everything done, would be my guess.
Love to.
It's the lead times, it isn't the construction, it would be the lead times for this project.
I'm assuming the electrical panels is tied to other things within the project, right?
It's more of, I think if I'm understanding your question correctly, it's a supply chain issue
Right,
that
the
we're running
panels.
into on
Right.
every
But-
project
But
right
that's,
now.
that is tied to whatever else is involved with,
Yeah.
connected to the electrical plant.
Right, yeah, a lot of that is, we need that capacity to feed the kitchen equipment,
Right.
so, yeah.
So.
But eventually the whole building will be turned over to this new
Right.
Right.
panel.
New
The whole
panel.
building needs this new panel anyway, or the way we're doing it,
Right.
and so.
So it's a supply chain. That answers my next question, okay. Now, are you guys still meeting in the facility team, or you have an Alan
We had a
Shepherd
meeting
team?
2 weeks ago. So the
Are
Alan
you
Shepherd,
continuing to meet?
we'll start our, so now what we have, and yes, we'll have construction meetings now.
Okay.
Generally, that becomes Scott and myself. Until there's colors and some other things, then we bring people back in. I'm not a colors guy. I do.
I don't trust
I
Scott
try
either.
not to pick, Scott doesn't pick colors.
No.
And so then we have to bring the team back when it comes to that kind of stuff.
So-
But in the end now, we have two projects that are approved. They're gonna start the construction phase of them. Starting next week, we start the design phase of the other 4 projects.
Okay.
And so those are design teams for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And also the Regional Innovation Center is moving forward.
And that's still moving forward
Yeah,
too.
that I
Yeah,
know.
until we
Someone
get
happened.
it out.
I
Fair
just
question,
wondered
no, we don't
because-
have regular facility
Okay.
meetings. We had one last January on 6th, before that was November, so we don't have regular facility.
Okay, I was just wondering, because when Mark asked the question, when's the deadlines and of such, I just would assume that Alan Shepherd team would be knowing that by now.
Yeah, well, we bid it out.
You wouldn't know anything until you got the bids, that's why I asked them
Yeah.
tonight, just because usually once you get the bids, you have an idea
Right.
of what your directions are.
But from our school perspective, the timelines have always been the same. They haven't changed. We break ground this spring and we want the facilities usable in the fall of '24 for this one, fall of '24 for the regional center, spring of '24, hopefully for softball.
Okay.
Those haven't changed at
Okay.
all. Now, again, they have a much more aggressive timeline than we have, which would be great if we can get to it, but we have no problem using the thing right away in the fall.
Right.
And if we got lucky, that could still could happen, but it does not look like, with the supply chain, especially for electrical components, it is what it is, so.
But maybe he trips on one tomorrow.
Whoops. I thought I had one for you guys.
Keep looking.
Yeah.
All right.
I just wanted to say thanks for laying this out in this format. It's very easy to read the summary in the beginning. Also just want to, this isn't so specific, but thank you for it looks like you got general trades, you got several bids for that. I know a previous project, we got one, which still is puzzling to me because this is $369,000 and the other one, we only got one bid, was over $800,000. So thank you for getting those multiple bids so that we have something to compare and compete with. So thanks for doing that. My question is, do we know on average, when we do this model, what percentage of spend or change orders come in? So we have an initial bid, which is awesome, but what's our final cost and on average?
What's the change or how much do we have in for
Contingency.
contingency? 5%.
That is contingency.
5% of that
Right.
total number is in contingency. Typically, we don't spend all of our contingency. So like the Y project, we'll have contingency coming back. I think part of it is we hope that's why we do a CM, that we've caught as much as we can. Certain things you can't catch, right? Until you start really digging. And this project's a little different because we believe there's a pipe here. There's really no good documentation in Long Grove on certain pipes and stuff. And so we may find some stuff that we didn't even know was there that could add to it. New construction's a lot less. When you tear into a building to do remodel, the junior high, I'll be very nervous on contingency as we start tearing apart. Adding, we should get a bulk of it in there. So I couldn't tell you what the average is, but I can tell you is I push hard not to use contingency unless we absolutely have to. We don't do a bunch of change orders. We don't try to spend the contingency because I'm always assuming we want to save that money. It's not there just to spend it just because we put a 5% in there.
Right.
And so it's
Yep.
generally we don't spend it all, but generally you end up using a lot more than you'd like to use too. So.
And the reason I ask is some of these bids are within 2% of each other, right? So even if we spend or somebody puts a change order in, that's the difference of whether somebody who bid it right the first time should have gotten the award, or somebody else who came in, left some things out and did change orders, right? So I mean, that's also why I kind of asked that question is, do we ever go back and see what those?
Yeah,
those
and
are?
so those are the kind of things that I would push hard to go, that's not an owner problem, right? If we dig something and we don't understand suitable soils, or we didn't know the suitable soils, or we find something, right, that you find, hey, that's contingency. Because somebody didn't bid some part of it, is like, no, it was right there, that's still your expectation. That's where I think we sit at the table, and Russell knows that about us, and Leggett knows that about us. I don't consider, hey, somebody made a mistake, well, that's what contingency for. Absolutely not. Somebody made a mistake.
Well, those are
that's-
discussions we've gotten
yeah.
into, right? I mean, how many times have we heard, we don't expect you to pay for it for a second time? We've had these
Yep.
discussions many times where I've asked the question, look, if you missed it, why are we paying for it, right? Well, if you haven't paid for it the first time, we don't expect you to pay for a second time. So
Yeah.
we've had those situations on multiple,
And
multiple projects.
what I said at the table, I'm asking all those questions, because I just don't consider it a blank check. And so, and I think they know that very well about it, because they've worked well, for long enough in the district that we do that, because I agree, it's not, it shouldn't be, if the change order is needed, I don't care who bid it out, that change order was gonna be needed, because we didn't know about it. It doesn't mean, you know what I
No,
mean,
that's
in
always
my
the case.
opinion, yeah.
But that's also why we're paying for Leggett and Russell too, is to manage that change order stuff. And I would say, from my experience, because you have basically a built-in 5% cost growth on this project, and so that's pretty much industry standard for a lot of these. So, fortunately for my day job, I don't get any contingency built in, so I have to go ask the owner all the time when I have a change order.
And constant cost reduction, yep.
Yeah, and I will say that once we get through the earthwork phase, you'll know a lot more.
Yeah, once you're up out of the ground, it'll be a lot better.
The biggest risk is always in the dirt,
Yeah.
especially in this job, not knowing where the utilities are. Like I said, we think we do, but we never gonna get confirmation until we actually dig that up and get that pad built. Once we get past, in the summer, we're gonna be a lot more comfortable of where that contingency's at, and, have a good idea. But it's kind of hard to tell you average growth because soil conditions are so different, and that's where a big chunk of contingency usage usually is spent, is in unsuitable soils, in my experience on my school jobs, because, if we have a really good spring and, things go well, or that can change how the soils react as well versus a really wet spring. So, just the moisture in the area and how it drains can affect all that.
We also can add to contingency during the phase. This is the other reason we hire Russell and we partner with them. So I think of the why, I'm trying to think of the one where we really don't need to be painting this stairwell going down to the, nobody can even come in here. Why would we spend the money to do that? So that's the other thing we count on them to look out there. Even once we go through the project, if the money doesn't need to be spent, or they find a different way to do it that can save us, then that money ends up getting added back to contingency too. And I would expect that out of them, and like both going, yeah, well, we designed it, but now we could do it for this and save 10 grand. And we've had both of those in the live project where we have saved. Now, we have had other ones where we've had to spend, but we've had ones where they have spent the money and it never came out of contingency because it ended up falling really in their responsibilities too. And so, again, I think when you partner up, you work together to ensure it. And again, it's not a blank check just because we put 5% in there. I don't expect this to be, I expect to get some of that 5% back because that's our money. It's not the construction money, that's our money.
So when you go into that uncertainty, those sort of things like the days we had to dig in there, can we plan those around school days? So if you're going into an area you have no idea, cut something, right? Like, is that something we consider of when you do those dig days of where we're at? Is it a school day? Is it how long is it going to take to repair if you do that sort of thing? Just so that our communications aren't out, or kids can go to school, that sort of thing. I didn't think about that until you said.
Yeah, so kind of now that we're past pre-con stage and Robin and his team's done a great job, now we're working with Brennan. I'm the project executive on the team, so I'm kind of between the both. Brennan and the operations team are really going to start meeting with Joe and the superintendent, having regular meetings about those schedules. Okay, when does school bus drop off and pick up? So when do we need to avoid that circle drive and all those site logistics and where the fences go? And where do we actually want to start? Is there something going on adjacent that, testing that we need to make sure that we're not working that day or those hours to not disturb those students? So all those things we're used to, and used to coordinating with the team and the principal on site to make sure we have those discussions and then coordinate those with the actual bid contractors doing the work.
And the kindergartners that want to see the cool equipment outside.
Yeah.
Time that during recess so they can watch, right?
So,
And we also have a lot of utility work, so that's a good point and I'm sure that'll be springtime work, is we have to coordinate that, because the last thing we want to do is close the building down because we have no water, that we could have avoided.
We guys deal with that all the time, right? So,
So, we have a schedule on the outages or those kind of things, so it's not a last minute email Joe sending out to parents that, we don't want those. So.
Kids love that.
Joe won't be sitting here.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a first and a second, so all those in favor of approving the bids as shown on Russell's letter here to us, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the contracts are approved. Joe?
Awesome.
Starting tomorrow, right?
With the contract, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, now moving on to new business. We're gonna talk a little about the board vacancy for Glenn Kepi here. I have a letter here that I'll be reading that Glenn sent to us board members here. So it says, from Glenn, resignation from school board effective January 23rd, 2023. Being on the school board and working with the board members, staff, and community has been very rewarding. I am proud of the progress the school district has made during my time on the board. We have invested in our buildings and programs. The renovations and additions to the district will help the district grow over time. The increase in offerings at all levels to our students will help North Scott graduates be successful in life. The district continues to move forward in a positive way. I've enjoyed seeing the success of our students, coaches, and staff. We have been blessed to have accomplishments at the state and national levels in many different activities. I'm very proud of our Ag and FFA program for becoming one of the best, not only in Iowa, but the nation. All of this is from the hard work and dedication of everyone involved. None of this could have happened without all of us working together. I'm very thankful to all the board members I've worked with over the years. I am grateful the community supported not only me, but the school district. I'd like to thank the central office staff who supported me during my time on the board. I also need to thank my family for supporting me during my tenure on the board. Due to my health, I cannot be the type of board member I want to be and the district deserves. I am unable to give the proper time and attention to matters. This letter is my resignation from the North Scott School Board. And so I think before we kind of go in, and we have to do some formal things, but I think it'd be a good time now for board members to just go one by one and kind of reflect on Glenn's contributions to the board and just any statements you may want to have to say. So no particular order, but
I'll start down on this end, you can go back down.
All right.
Being a board member for the least amount of time with Glenn has really been a positive thing for me. Glenn, I know Glenn throughout my whole education career here at North Scott. In fact, I knew his parents, Roy and Myrtle, very well. They were one of the first to welcome me as a young 21-year-old into the community when I was a junior, senior high school, and we were just growing, and I got to meet Glenn. And one thing about Glenn, if you wanted to know something about the community, how he felt, you knew you were going to get an honest answer and heartfelt answer, one way or the other. He didn't pull any punches. I'm glad, because he was a big guy. But he was one that you could always go to learn a little bit about the community, what was going on, and who may be able to be out there to help you work through some things. So he'll be best from the board from my standpoint. He's always been a very close friend, and I feel he's still a colleague. So, John.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Glenn for his service, for his years of dedication. I was on the board when he came on the board, and thankful for his quiet leadership throughout. I really got to know him when he went off to Washington, and we communicated, and his son Neil worked for me, along with Chad some as well. And so it really kind of it's a bittersweet. It's really he has done a tremendous job. We rode up to Des Moines several times together, and he's really taught me a lot and taught me how to really speak in public and be part of it. And I will be forever grateful for everything that he's done for me. And so having him be done on the board, it certainly is a time to celebrate, but there's also some sadness with it. And like I said, I couldn't thank him enough for all that he did and everything his family's done. And he truly is like family. And of course, I talked to Neil today and communicate with all of them all the time. And so it's really really been a fun time together, and it's biblical. Everything has its season, and it's the season for Glenn to move on in the next chapter of his life. And so I really couldn't thank him enough. Thank you.
John? Yeah, I as a board member, not only have I been very honored to serve with Glenn the entire time he's been a board member, and I won't go way back, but his dad and my dad started National Pork Producers. There were 5 men, and that was my dad and his dad, and then 3 other men. And we have some stories, but it's turned into a humongous organization, and we have them to thank. But I've known Glenn many years, and I just knew when he got on the board that he would be a major leader, a very strong, solid person that he is, and people have no idea of the strengths this man has because he's the most humble man I've ever met. He has experience with presidents of the United States. I mean, it's just amazing what we have in our community, and he's gonna be around and he's gonna continue to help. I know as far as I'm concerned, he's gonna continue to mentor me because he is a mentor, and he's a problem solver. I'm all about solving problems. I mean, we have problems, how do you solve them? And he solves problems connected to people, and he embraces people's strengths. He leverages that, he works through others, he works with people, and that's what his whole realm is working with others to get things accomplished for the better of the kids. And that's what this is about. School board, the kids in our district benefited greatly by having Glenn Kepi on the board, and he's going to continue to benefit our district with his leadership. It's just going to be a little bit more behind the scenes, but he's going to be there for our kids in our district. And we are so blessed and so honored and so truly lucky to have Glenn Kepi and his family in this community. So that I thank you. Glenn, I love you. Bottom line.
Yeah, I just met Glenn 7 years ago when I got on the board, and a lot of what you guys said, he taught us all a lot. I learned a lot from him, and I appreciate his ability to listen and always guide us and give us direction. You know, him and Jean opened up their home to us for the board Christmas parties a couple times, and just enjoyed seeing things from their travels and listening to his, you know, some of the fun events that he, you know, remembered and wanted to share with us. You know, Easter egg hunt at the White House, just some of those things that, you know, he's just shared with us about their family and their life. So, I just wish him all the best. Thank him for his the service on the board and all of his other contributions, and just wish him continued recovery and health, and yeah, just want to thank him.
I agree with all the things that you've all said. One of my favorite things that I got from Glenn was his knowledge of the history of Scott County and North Scott School District in particular. He and Jean graduated with my mom, so I hear some stories about when they used to run around and back in the day. And one of my favorite stories of Glenn in his years at North Scott was he was a student and a bus driver at the same time. I can't grasp that. They used to do that. But Glenn was such a great leader. I got to be vice president with him for several years, and he was such a calm and thoughtful leader, and like everybody said, he was a great listener, and he just had a wealth of knowledge and was very humble about it. And I'm going to miss him a lot, but I thank him for everything he's done for our district. And like Joni said, I expect that he's going to still guide me, and we're going to be involved with him and his family in a lot of different ways. But time to move on and time to have some days of rest. Glenn, we're going to miss you.
Right, again, I echo what everybody else said. I just want to thank Glenn for his time on the board, and just, you know, he was just that quiet guy that, you know, listened so much. And, you know, as being in politics as much as he was, you would think that he was always had to be hear himself talk and do all this stuff. That was not Glenn at all. He was one of those guys that took everything in, and then when he spoke, you better listen, because it was to the point, and a lot of it was very insightful. And that's something I always take from him. It's just that active listening that he did. And just, you know, like Tracy said, he knew everything. Like, he graded the softball field where it's at right now. So, I mean, he's been a part of a lot of history in North Scott and just Scott County. So again, thank you, and I could listen to all stories forever from him. I think he told me one time Bart Starr picked him up at the airport one time when he was trying out for the Packers, and it was just really neat. The guy's got a lot of great stories, so.
I was sitting and talking with him last week, and it's funny is I heard almost every one of you say he was a listener. I wish I could do half the listening he did, because that was his strength of leadership. And many of us will talk over each other, because a lot of us are talkers that sit at this table. But it was funny, when Glenn finally spoke up, we all just sat and listened, because that's the type of leader he was. And I think we will miss that. I told him that. One thing we'll miss off the board that he brought to this board is he would listen and listen and listen, then he would speak. You know, we all could learn to do it better. I know I could, for sure. I guess I could say we all. Me, for sure. I'm a talker. I could definitely continue to learn that lesson from Glenn, because Glenn for sure was that, and I heard most of you say that in one way or another. Thank Glenn for his service that he's put onto the board, and you're right, the stories that he has, but he's so humble, you have to ask him to tell the stories. He will never volunteer a story. You got to get into the conversation to hear about going to China, to hear about being in the NFL, to hear about rooming with Terry Bradshaw. I mean, there's a book that you could have on that. So we were just blessed to have him for the 9 years, or I think it was 9 years that he was on the board. He got on right before I got here, so appreciate all his service and his leadership.
Right, so thank you everybody for all that. We have some formality with this too, so I need a motion and a second to approve Glenn's resignation.
Make a motion to accept his resignation.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? I think we've already cleared that. Do you want to talk through the timeline now, Joe, or do you want to? We have a motion saying we have not voted yet.
Oh,
so,
why don't you do that, and then we can talk through the timeline,
sorry.
the next half.
Yes,
Thank you.
Sorry. So all those in favor of accepting Glenn's resignation, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
Okay, so by accepting his resignation tonight, that starts the process of finding his replacement. So the board, as we had a work session tonight, so, and we talked for a while, so correct me if I end up hitting a wrong date. But today starts our 30-day time period from the board's ability and the intent for the board to pick his replacement. And so the board's gonna request that anybody who's interested in participating or interested in being selected to be on the board to turn a letter of intent to Tarina Bruns. Either it could be an email to her or a letter could get dropped off or sent by the end of the day on February 8th.
That's 4:30.
Yeah, and if you want to, do you have the questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead and cover the questions.
So basically, have a letter of intent, email, mail. This needs to be in Tarina's inbox of some sort by that day at 4:30. And so in the letter we're looking for, why are you interested as a candidate? What do you bring to the table? And then why are you a good fit for North Scott School Board? So those are the highlights of our kind of like I said, letter of intent.
Yeah, and we'll post that. We'll make sure the paper gets that published too, and we'll post it. Obviously, it's on it's on our YouTube channel right now for that. So what that will lead to then is on February 9th, the board will review those applications and then take a look and to select anywhere from 2 to 4 people potentially to interview as a possibility. Now, maybe one person rises to the top, there are no interviews, and that it could be a unanimous decision that night, but the intent would be to review those applications at a 4 p.m. work session on the 9th, and then on the 13th for the interviews if needed, from 4 to 6 p.m. as a work session interviewing those candidates, and then the night of the 13th on that board agenda would be to select it. But the law also requires the ability for a potential election if a petition is filled out, and so on Wednesday, we will publish in the paper the intent of the board to select a candidate. And the fact that if the citizens would want an election, then a petition of 1,015 signatures would need to be turned in by the same date as the applications are due, the 8th at 4:30 p.m. So they have 2 weeks to have a petition turned in, and then if that would actually happen, there's 15 certified, signatures, or 1,015 signatures, then we would none of those work sessions would happen. We would go to the county auditor and we would start the process of having a special election to take place. If for some odd reason the board, there is no petition, but the board can't select somebody in 30 days, then that also would cause a special election too. But at this time, the board's intent is to select a candidate. Now, this candidate will only fill the term until next November. And so this position is up for election in November. And so whoever has it, whether they would run or not run, would have to run, because the seat would be filled in the fall election, the November election. And so, and then again, we'll put it on the website, it'll be in the newspaper.
And if you have any questions, they can feel free to email me. I guess I'll be the point person.
Sounds good.
For that. So.
Just a reference, I mean, this is all based on our policy 202.4, so.
Yeah, and
what
state
you
law.
described,
Yeah.
yeah, which is,
Yeah.
also references the state law in there too, so.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. That's done with our business. So on the superintendent's report.
Okay, just a legislative update. We were talking before the meeting started. They are talking about the educational savings accounts. They're being debated right now. Well, they could be done, but in the House and the Senate Yeah, tonight. They're still going? Okay. So there is the intent was, it sounds like that tonight we'll end that. Then we'll see SSA probably take the next major time, because they have 30 days by law. They're supposed to, within 30 days of the start of session, determine SSA. And so the assumption is, once this is passed, and all indications look like it's going to get passed, there are some changes to it tonight, but it'll get passed, then they'll go to SSA, and we'll move on with the session. I'm going to be down there next Monday night, Tuesday, to work with the AEA. Our AEA is going down there to the area superintendents to do some lobbying. February 14th, right now we don't have any board members signed up to go on the Day on the Hill. So if anybody's gonna go, let us know for that. Are you gonna go?
Frank's
Okay.
I've already gotten recommendations.
Oh, good. And then Heather and Bernie are definitely gonna go as administrators too, so.
I was planning on going to.
Good, excellent. I was getting a little nervous we wouldn't have somebody, and, we'll, sounds like we're gonna have a good group again, so. You might have a hard time.
I don't think you can hover
hobbling
on.
in the
I'm
Capitol.
sorry.
And so, so anyway, that's what's happening right now up at the Capitol, and we'll just have to keep watching and see what else comes out for that. The upcoming board meetings are in there. Of course, we've added and changed some things up, obviously due to this resignation that happened. There's extra work sessions and things like that, and just it's a reminder, because we're already getting close to March. There's only one board meeting in March, and then typically we would have, we have it's not really a board meeting, it's just a work session for Jill to update on our budget. And so, the other thing that happens this time, because we're getting close and we're starting to get a lot of the numbers that we know, like insurance, no increased cost to insurance, that's great. IPERS did not go up, that's great. What we don't know is, are we at 2.5 or will it be more than 2.5? Wishful thinking is 2.5 is the floor, not the ceiling, right? So we're hoping that's the case, but now it's time to start setting up meetings for negotiations or interest-based. So we have bus drivers, their first meeting set up, and we have teachers, their first meeting set up. Still waiting to get the support staff, so we'll start getting those meetings going to that. Summer work session, looking at trying to get the dates of all of our administrators, our large administrative team on vacations. And then I want to hook it up with the board as we do not only some team building or strategic plan and things like that. So I'll be reaching out soon to say, hey, are you, it looks like the end of June potentially. And so if you already know your summer vacations, that you're not available, if you could send that to me, that would be awesome, because I'm trying to connect both our admin team this summer with the board this summer. So, and then boardroom update. I am not sure. I'm hoping after spring break our boardroom will be available again. Maybe public doesn't know we had water damage in there. We're getting carpet replaced, painting on the walls. We have done, I shouldn't say we, wow. I've done very little. The ladies have done a phenomenal job in the office, clearing out stuff that we've been just holding on to. I mean, we have filing cabinets. We have emptied out 5 filing cabinets. So it has forced us to clean up. The cabinets in the boardroom are gonna be removed, so we get a little bit more space in that boardroom. Part of it is we really don't need them there, and so we're trying to maximize that. We're taking advantage, since we had to tear apart a lot of stuff in there, to put it back better. We got rid of the pop machine, for example. We were only selling 4 or 5 pops a month. And so it's loud, so we got rid of that. We'll get rid of the filing. So we'll even make the the kitchen a little bit bigger and actually get rid of the chalkboard and put up a TV, so meetings that are held in there will actually be more comfortable and actually can present. So we are taking advantage of the situation.
Use the
but
chalkboard, Joe.
it's
Yeah,
gone
the
already. But anyway, I'm just not sure. I'm hoping March 20th, when we come back from spring break, the board meeting will be in the boardroom. We'll just have to see if we get everything done.
Otherwise, you're still at the high school.
Other side, we'll start using the high school, yeah. We've moved a lot of meetings to high school. Daytime meetings are tough because there's no parking at the high school. And so we use the transportation. I forget, we have a nice meeting room for transportation, so we did that for the bid opening. We've used the community center, so we'll look around, but high school has been our primary, because they have great breakout rooms and we've been able to do it, so, yeah. That's all I have.
All right, board correspondence, do we have anything tonight?
Frank, why don't you announce what you do?
Well, I got this last week, Friday, I'm sorry. I was involved in a, I guess, appointment to the Iowa Association of School Boards as their District 6 director. I say I was involved. I had to be a Zoom meeting beginning at 9 o'clock on Thursday, where I get to introduce myself, and the other individual from Anamosa did the same, talked about our pros and cons, and then they had a vote right then and there. I won the vote, and then I got to stay on the Zoom meeting until 5 o'clock that day because we had a Zoom meeting. We went through 2 different meetings, and then I had to come back the next day from 8 o'clock to 11 for another Zoom meeting. So now I will be going up to Des Moines in February in hopes to select a new executive director for IESB, and I think there's 7 meetings already planned for the month of February for that process, so I'll be up there for a little bit. But so far it's been very enjoyable, even though it's been long and sitting in front of a computer that long. Tough, but you know how you can mute that and get up and go. I'm looking forward to it. Should be exciting, but it's only for 1 year because no one applied for it during the time when they had the election. So it's just until next November, and if I really want it, I can go ahead and reapply for the next 2 years. It's a 3-year process.
Thanks for doing that.
Congratulations.
Good job. Good job.
Very glad.
We'll see.
I will be reaching out to everybody. I'll just let you know when I'm gonna go to the food service group, and if Katie, you can give the t-shirts to Amy. She can get those out. Oh, maybe she took them.
She did.
Then we'll go and actually personalize it and pass out.
Spray water around. And
I'll let you know when
wanted
I'm-
their shirts.
They would like that.
They wanted those shirts.
I know, they want the
ASAP.
shirts more than that.
I was gonna say Tracy and I will be here tomorrow in this building.
I'm not coming around.
Oh, I will be in here
I know.
tomorrow.
I was with-
Quick on the camera.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, you also, just, I think the gentleman asked about the forums, you're scheduling forums, public forums for us, right? You're working on that?
Correct, yeah. This year we were doing the school ones, and I've been working with the elementaries, we just didn't get them scheduled till late. Mark did ask me, because you had asked about, should we schedule another one, and I forgot we missed the Eldridge one last year, got canceled. Can't remember why.
It's been about a year.
Conflicting calendars or something.
Yeah, something
We showed
happened.
up.
We showed up and they
That's
weren't there,
right. We
and
did
so
show up.
remember that?
We
We
did
showed
show
up.
up.
And so I did reach out to Frank King to see, well, when would be a good time to redo the Eldridge one, so I'll wait to hear back from him. I think he was gonna probably talk about it tonight or ask the council members what they think about it.
Eldridge is an option. Joni, when's your council meetings out here?
Pardon?
When's your council meetings out here?
Council meetings, it went well.
No, when are they? You said we're always welcome out here,
First
right?
Monday of the month, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't written down when they are, the first Monday. The only one I might not have, you said association, I don't know when your,
Oh,
the Parkview
Wednesday,
Association.
second or third
meetings. We've never done one
Wednesday?
of theirs.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have,
do a
but
Parkview
not
one?
very often.
Oh, okay.
I
Been a
went to
while.
one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was with literacy
I think
night.
we tied it to something.
All right.
Yeah, we usually do.
We try, every other year we try to do school versus go talk, because mostly when we go to the city council, we end up very few people, it's really, which is great to have elected officials talk to elected officials.
Yeah.
And so, then we hope we get out to the outlying elementaries where there's a large group, and hopefully they stay. Doesn't always happen, you know.
Last couple times we've
5 or
just gone to
6.
Princeton City Council meetings.
Say that again?
Last couple times we've gone to Princeton City Councils.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
the only
last year we
tied
did
events are Armstrong and
Shepherd. Yeah.
Yeah, no, did we come out here for one?
We
It's
went
been, it's been 2 years, well, but I might have been even pre-COVID then.
We went to Princeton, I was there with
I was
you.
too.
and-
At the
yeah,
city
you were
council
there,
last
yeah,
year.
Yeah,
Yeah, city
yeah,
council.
city council.
Yeah.
There's a picture float next to the row of us.
Okay, any other correspondence, comments? All right, one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.